Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, broadcast from the law offices in Philadelphia of Morgan Lewis. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts, Peter Snelling, Merrill Lynch, Drew Hanlon, Mark Sonnenfeld, Morgan Lewis, and Alexa Scalzi, Top Stack Group. Let's see, Peter, can you give us a rundown on who we have on the air today,
Sure
please?
can, Herb. We have Felix Torres-Colon, Executive Director, New Kensington Community Development Corp., Chris Joyce, Founder and CEO of Gusher, Blythe Huestis, President, Beyond Hello, and Charles Bernier Sr., Charles Bernier Jr., ECBM.
Excellent. Let's get to know our first guest, Felix Torres-Colon, Executive Director, New Kensington Community Development Corporation. Felix, what is the New Kensington Community Development Corporation? What are you guys doing?
Well, we're a nonprofit with about 40 employees, and we focus on building affordable housing and making the neighborhood a better place to live.
Uh-huh. And where are you from originally?
All over. I was an Army brat, so for a while I lived everywhere.
Uh-huh. Give us an example of the different places you lived.
I lived in Fairbanks, Alaska. I lived in Anchorage, Alaska. I lived in San Antonio, Texas.
Uh-huh. And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 3 siblings who are half-siblings. My father was a widower. And then I have 3 other siblings with my mother's kids.
So where are you in terms of the pecking order of all these kids?
Well, my older siblings are much older. So for a while, I was the middle kid. Eventually, I became the oldest kid.
All right. Let me understand here. So you grew up with 3 natural, 3 half. You were the oldest. You were the middle. How do you think that affected you, being both the oldest and the middle kids, considering marriages and so on and so forth? I've
always felt more comfortable with the middle kid role. You know, even though I am the CEO, I've always felt that I'd be better than number 2.
How's that lend itself to your building this organization?
Well, I realize what my strengths and weaknesses are, and that I'm very comfortable letting other people lead, letting other people be in charge of particular projects.
Wow. Tell us what was going on in your childhood that had anything to do with the social justice stuff we spoke about earlier.
Well, my parents were immigrants from Puerto Rico, and my mom worked as a laundress, and she used to come home and her arms and forearms would be full of burn marks, which comes with the business. And then my father, at one point, he didn't have a car, and he was walking to work every day, at least 15 to 16 miles. And I felt that was wrong.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I thought it was wrong because they were hardworking people, good people, but to make a living, my mother was coming home burned every day, and then my dad was walking miles and miles and miles.
True.
Felix, how did that make you feel to see your dad having to walk 15 or 16 miles to go to work?
Well, part of me was ashamed because, all the other kids had cars. Then part of me was so proud that he would do that for us. And I really learned from that and other things from my father that you do anything for your family.
And what was your dad like?
He was a former NCO in the Army. He was incredibly grumpy. But he would do whatever he needed to do for us.
That fact that you felt proud that you knew your dad would do anything for you, for the family, what's that have to do with your career?
Well, as I said earlier, I'm very interested in helping people as a result of what happened to my parents. And then,
what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, I think always have felt that my parents got abused, that they were taken advantage of.
So how's that affecting your career?
Well, because what I do now is helping people, helping them buy houses so they don't get abused by bad landlords, help people so they don't lose their houses.
All right.
We do a lot of stuff just to help folks go forward without
being abused. Alexa,
Exactly.
what's your thought there?
Felix, you mentioned you moved a couple times when you were younger. What was that like starting over each time?
Part of it was okay because, I'm an Army kid and there were always Army bases. I never had a really close friend because whenever I did, they were gone a year later. And it was, quite frankly, when we stopped, I missed it. I couldn't believe I was stuck in the same town.
So you learned how to adjust and how to adapt moving town to town. In fact, it became part of your DNA, and because when you stopped moving, it was like, the excitement wore off. How does adaptability, how's that helped your business career?
I think it's helped it because I'm in a business, and I think we're all in businesses. Things change constantly, and you have to do things different constantly.
So you got used to that as a kid, Peter?
So you realized at a young age that your parents were abused. How young were you when you realized that you were going to do something about that?
I was probably 9 or 10, and part of it was, it's funny because I knew I wanted to help people. And then my father, I was helping him. It's a rite of passage in my house, helping him do work in the house, and he yells at all of us. And then at one point he tells me, son, you have really got to get smart, because if you depend on your hands, you're going to starve to death. So that's when I then realized not only am I going to help people, but I better learn something that's going to let me give them a good...
Mark?
Felix, who were your role models growing up?
Well, obviously my father and mother. And then, growing up, because I didn't have friends, I moved a lot. I think it was really later in my life, different supervisors and bosses I've had, and in each case, I would steal something from them. I had one boss who used to every day go and see everybody every morning for 10 minutes and calm me down about yesterday and about tomorrow, and that's one of the things I do.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Alexa, didn't you have another question there?
Yeah, we always like to make sure that we're getting a good interview with everyone. If you had to say, is there anything we're missing about you?
Yes. I mean, as I said, my parents migrated from Puerto Rico. In my industry, Hispanic CEOs are not very common, and typically they're the head of other Hispanic organizations. New Kensington really isn't a Hispanic organization. And most of the places I've been have not been Hispanic organizations. So I've always, as a CEO, felt very isolated. Because not only can I not talk to my staff, I can't talk to my board, and then I don't have colleagues that look and sound and speak like me.
Wow. But I guess you grew used to that because of your childhood. The fact that you were moving all the time, you didn't have any close friends, so you either you're recreating your past all over again, or you got accustomed to your future because of it.
I think absolutely, because not having a lot of close friends, the few friends I do have, I hold very tightly, and it's very few friends. Mm-hmm. I don't naturally trust a whole lot of people because they'll be gone in a year, so why bother?
Why were you the right dude to lead this organization? Why were you the right one?
I think I was the right one because, one, I really believed in what they were doing. I was committed and passionate about what they do.
Yeah. And what else?
They're really creative. So, like I said, when I stopped moving, I got really bored. Mm-hmm. This organization is not boring because they're always doing different things. They're always innovating. So I knew they would keep me mentally engaged.
Felix, why is it important to talk to your coworkers and ask them what's going on? Why is that important to you?
It's important to me because really they're one of the checks on your effectiveness. They're one of the ways that you can judge performance. And when you talk with your coworkers, a lot of times they can tell you how your performance is.
And how does it make you feel to see someone, be able to purchase a home or find a place to live? When you see that firsthand, how does that make you feel? I
get very proud. It feels wonderful. And I used to be a teacher, and it used to take, 13, 15 years before you saw how they did. When someone buys a house, it's very immediate, and I love it.
Peter?
Felix, you're kind of a quiet guy. You seem kind of a quiet guy, yet when you walk out on a job site, you're very energized. How does it feel looking at the work underway?
Well, for me, I'm very terrified because, when you're doing construction and managing that, there's so many things that can go wrong. So I'm usually a nervous Nelly when I go to the site because, oh my God, so many things can go wrong. But I've always, because of my parents and how I grew up, I can always look calm. I mean, I can have my feet in a frozen block of ice, and I'll be calm until they throw me off the pier.
So you really, it sounds like, is your job 9 to 5?
No, I wish it was.
Do you get paid overtime?
No.
So why do you bother doing it?
Because, like I said earlier, my dad did anything he could do to help his family.
That's what I needed to hear.
As the executive director, I do anything I can do.
What's the website address of the organization? Your website?
It is nkcdc.org.
We've been speaking with Felix Torres-Colon, Executive Director of New Kensington Community Development Corporation. We'll be back in a moment right after this break. And your name and organization is?
Chuck Peterson, president of Piton Insurance Group and Financial Services.
And what do you guys do?
We help clients, educate clients in insurance and risk management.
And what was showing up in your childhood, 8 to 14, that would give us any indicator who you are nowadays?
Great question. I had a lot of stuff going on. We moved from Western PA to the Philadelphia area, and I think that helped, that Western PA mentality helped instill in me the golden rule of service. And I used to get up before school because I was so driven to succeed in sports that I would get up, way before school started to run or to work out and shoot extra shots in basketball while most of my colleagues were still sleeping.
So you and both of your parents were teachers, if I remember correctly. So you really come from service.
Correct.
What's the website address for your organization?
PitonInsurance.com.
Let me have that one more time.
PITON Insurance.com.
And your name again is?
Chuck Peterson.
And this has been your Business Spotlight. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Blythe Huestis, president of Beyond Hello. Blythe, what is Beyond Hello? What are you guys doing?
We are a state-licensed medical marijuana dispensary.
In Pennsylvania?
We are here in Pennsylvania.
How large or how small is the organization?
We currently have 5 operating locations. We'll have 12 to 15 within the next year, and we have about 150 employees currently.
And where are you from originally?
Originally Texas, then New Hampshire, then New Jersey, then Arizona, and now here.
And why were you moving so much?
My father was in the advertising and publishing industry.
And how many brothers and sisters you got?
I have one brother and one sister.
Where are you in the pecking order?
I am the baby by 7 and 9 years.
So you're the baby by 7 and 9 years. And what was going on when you were 11 and then 14?
At 11, I essentially became an only child when my brother and sister both went off to college. At 14, my mom was first diagnosed with breast cancer. And so what happened to the dynamic in the family at that point? Well, it was tough. I mean, I was the only sibling at home watching my mom go through this illness and struggling.
Okay, keep going. Tell us more.
She first was diagnosed with breast cancer, and we relocated to Arizona so she could have treatments at the Mayo Clinic. And she was cancer-free for some time, but ultimately she was then diagnosed with carcinosarcoma, and it took her life.
Was she in pain?
She was.
So how did you feel during that period of time?
It was incredibly tough watching your mom, who had been a stay-at-home mom taking care of everybody else, to now not even be able to take care of herself. I left my job and became a full-time caregiver of hers in tandem with my sister and watched her struggle.
She was in pain?
She was in a lot of pain.
Do you think medical marijuana might have been able to help?
I really do.
Why?
I mean, I see it every day, the impact that medical marijuana can have on an individual's life when they are terminally ill or suffering. It can combat pain, nausea, anxiety, depression, help with sleep, stimulate appetite.
So you're coming at this medical marijuana thing not because you like getting high every day, but because you really saw how it can help.
Absolutely.
How did your mom inspire you?
She was the most giving and loving person I had ever met in my life. She really had this way of connecting with everyone she met, making everybody feel comfortable. She was incredible.
And can you tell us a little about your father?
Yeah, he was the ultimate illustration of a businessman, somebody who dedicated his life to earning an income to take care of his family.
And do you think your dad inspired you to be an entrepreneur?
Absolutely.
And what does your dad think of what you're doing today?
Oh, he loves it. I talk to him just about every day, and he wants to hear what's new, what's going on in the industry, how I'm making a difference.
And when you're faced, with a tough decision, what would you hear your mom whispering in your ear?
Be kind, be genuine, be authentic, and help.
Alexa?
Blythe, you mentioned, you were the third in a line of siblings. Are you currently close with your siblings today?
I am very close.
And how do you, think being kind of the youngest only child plays into running an organization?
I learned how to play nice with others at a very young age, but I also learned how to operate and function independently.
Yeah. You're also, significant. The cannabis industry in general is growing in leaps and bounds. What is that like for you as a female running the organization?
It's incredible. I see women in this industry really taking the forefront, which is really powerful to see in a traditionally male-dominated industry.
Mm-hmm. Peter?
How young were you when you realized that healing and helping would become your life's work?
Probably in my 20s. I may have known it at a younger age, but it was really in my 20s.
And how do you find that rewards you?
There are certain people in this world who really are designed to give back and help, and I think I am one of those people. I find it incredibly rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Mark?
Very fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Blythe, who were the major influences on you?
My mom and dad were my biggest influencers.
And how so?
They showed me that you can be incredibly successful at something you're passionate about. You can really take who you are as an individual and create something that's bigger, and you can be successful with it.
But when we were talking in the green room, we asked you about other influences, and you kept coming back to mom and dad being the primary influences over and over again. So you must have had a reasonably close family?
We were all very close.
Uh-huh. So how's that helping, or how's that affecting your design and your management of the team?
We are a family. We are a unit. We have to work together. We are like-minded individuals who ultimately want to give back and make people feel better. We're passionate about what we do. We are creating a culture.
I thought business was blood and guts, and you fire. If you don't do your job, you're fired. And, I gave you a chance once. But that doesn't sound like that's the way you're doing things.
It really isn't. We find people who want to work in this industry for the right reasons. There are wrong reasons too, but ultimately in our industry, I look for people who are passionate, positive, professional, polite, and precise. And when you possess those qualities, you're going to do really well in this industry and with our company.
Give me that list again.
Passionate, professional, precise, positive. Punctual. Lots of B's.
So this is stuff. And what's your role on the team? What's your role in the team? How do you figure out what are you supposed to be doing?
Well, I'm creating something that's different. We are in an industry where a lot of times it's simply about the transaction, getting people in and out. What we're trying to do is create something that's very patient or customer-centric, create an experience for the people who are shopping with us, try and remove the negative stigma that's tied with cannabis, and ultimately allow people to feel comfortable and proud of the decision they're making to use cannabis as a treatment option.
And isn't that what the name of your business is all about?
Beyond hello. We go beyond a hello, beyond the simple transaction, and really start open, honest dialogue with patients, with medical pros, and the community.
So you're in almost a cutting-edge, very forward-thinking industry. I'm just curious, as a youngster, were you a risk taker?
Yeah, I was a bit of a rebel growing up.
And how so?
I guess I always kind of marched to my own tune. My brother and sister used to always say, play the game. And for me, I never really wanted to play that game. I wanted to do what I thought was right.
And do you see how like marching to a different beat kind of might have made who you are today?
I mean, yeah. Look at I'm in the cannabis industry. You know, it's traditionally not something that people are super comfortable with. When I got involved 10 years ago, it was a risk then. And I continue to take risks. They're just a little more calculated than when I was young.
When you were 8 to 14, how were these? How were you? How was this marching to your own little drummer? How'd that show up 8 to 14?
I think, you know, the way I would dress, the way I would act, I would take risks, and I would be very communicative with my family about it. I was very open with them versus keeping stuff secret from them. And I guess that's really what I'm here to do now, is be open and honest about something that typically people aren't comfortable with.
So you're really on a mission. This is a mission for you. This is not a job, is it?
It's not. This is my passion.
Well, and this is not 9 to 5 for you, is it?
Oh, no. We're open 7 days a week, and when you have as many people working for you as I do, I mean, you never stop.
How large or how small is your team?
We are around 150, and we're going to be doubling in size.
Over what period of time?
Within the next year.
So there's a lot of opportunities with your organization.
There are.
So it's keeping you pretty busy all different hours, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So why are you smiling about that?
Well, smiling's a choice. Being happy is a choice, and I'm really proud of what we've accomplished and where we're going in this industry.
What's the website address for Beyond Hello?
Beyond-hello.com.
We've been speaking with Blythe Huestis, president of Beyond Hello, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, we'll be back in a moment right after this break. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Chris Joyce, founder and CEO of Gusher. Chris, what is Gusher? What are you guys doing?
Sure. Gusher is a new type of venture capital company. We help entrepreneurs from everywhere. If they don't have a penny, no way to have the right contacts or funding, we get them up and running wherever they are.
Give me some interesting statistics about your organization.
Sure. I mean, internally, we have about 10 core employees. We have over 130 founders on our system currently, and we have thousands of what we call entrepreneurs across the globe, and those are the people that make up these companies.
Interesting. Where are you from originally?
Dayton, Ohio.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
Sure. I had 6 stepbrothers and sisters and 1 brother.
Okay, so where were you in the pecking order here?
I was the baby. I was the youngest.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood, 8 to 14.
8 to 14. When you have that many kids in a house, you learn to fight for what you want in that house.
Come on, tell us more about what was going on 8 to 14.
Sure. I don't come from a standard family. I come from something that was really an evil Brady Bunch, if you want to call it that. You know, there was psychological warfare going on a day-to-day basis, and you learn real quickly how to stand up for yourself and get what you want.
Drew?
Chris, you saw an injustice at a young age, a little bit of bullying going on. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the 4th grade. I saw a special needs kid that was basically bullied into eating an apple core on the side of a street with all the street material on it, and it really kind of disturbed the hell out of me.
And did you jump in and save the day?
No, actually, I got pissed off at myself for not doing that. To this day, I'm still pissed off at myself.
And what has that done to you, seeing that bullying? Like, how did that inspire your leadership style?
I think it's pretty much everything in terms of dealing with the underdog fundamentally. I fundamentally do it to this day in every way, shape, and fashion. I try to basically break through for them. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I saw the serious look in your face there. You really are about breaking through.
Sure.
Yeah, Drew, what other questions you got there?
I was just also curious, you know, what kind of got you into entrepreneurship and where you learned your leadership from?
Sure. In terms of learning the leadership, that came from something that I had to do myself step by step, but also, as a kid, in terms of seeing or finding my path, per se, that came from books. It came from really reading Atlas Shrugged, relating to certain characters in that book, and that set me on my path business-wise. It just clicked.
And what characters specifically are you speaking about?
Sure. There was a character in the book, obviously, a character called Midas Mulligan. He was an investment banker. The book was written before there were really venture capitalists, but in effect, he was a venture capitalist in modern-day terms.
And you related to that?
Am I related to that?
No, you related to his character.
Absolutely. I related to everything that he did. I related to everything that he saw.
What did he do?
He basically went ahead and funded these companies. He got entrepreneurs that basically had nothing and got them going in many different ways.
How young were you when you were relating to him?
That was 12 years old, 12, 13, 6th, 7th grade.
Was he fighting for the underdog?
He was definitely fighting for the underdog. He himself trailblazed and did his own deal and went against everything that everybody else was doing.
And here you are doing it now.
Doing the same thing.
Uh-huh. Alexa.
Chris, how young were you when you started your first business?
First business was 6 years old, right out of the gates.
Wow, that's kind of incredible. What kind of business do you start at 6?
Well, at the time, obviously there were comic books, and there was certain business opportunities in the back, and there was something called burpee seeds at the time that you could buy and then resell. And so I sent in my couple bucks to go ahead and get the burpee seeds, got them, and then I went door to door on an Air Force base selling them.
If you had to guess, how many doors do you need to knock on to sell those?
Every damn one on the base. You have to. I mean, there's literally, that's what you have to do is go through the process.
So you're at 6 years old, which is a little weird, starting your own business.
Sure.
And then you're telling us you were reasonably thorough in terms of knocking on all the doors. What's that tell us about your personality and who you are in terms of business?
I think it's pretty much everything in business. I think that, the vast majority of those doors, in terms of my memory, were basically closed. They never opened. You have to go through that process and trust the process that you're going to get what you wish. And so it's a type of thing that you don't just go ahead and magically and those doors open and you get what you want. You literally start knocking and pounding the hell out of it until you get what you want. And that's the real key takeaway from that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So persistence is your middle name.
Persistence and resilience. You have to go through that, and a lot of times that road is a hell of a lot longer than you think it is, especially for most entrepreneurs, and they don't realize how long that is.
Mark?
Chris, what's been your greatest business success?
Greatest business success was probably a company called O Solo Foods that I started with $1,200. We ended up having our products sold in more than 11,000 stores in 23 countries. We were the first manufacturer of what are called low-carbohydrate bread products.
What was your role in that?
My role was founder and CEO. I started it with literally that $1,200.
And what was remarkable about it?
Everything. That whole company, in terms of everything from its conception, it went ahead and started where everything was against it, had no money, yet the doors kept opening. It was basically pounding on those doors and getting it going. In the beginning stages, I literally contacted more than 500 food chemists that told me it couldn't be done, it shouldn't be done, it wouldn't be done, until I found one that could.
And what did you learn from your childhood that led you there?
Same thing. It was the exact same thing when I was 6. It was knocking on doors, except at that time there was an AOL membership directory, and that's how I found them.
When you sold that business, did that put you in a situation where you could have financially retired?
Possibly, but at the same time, that it was never about money. It was never, ever about money. Still isn't about money.
Wait a second. Wait a minute. I thought the American dream was to, make enough money so you could retire as soon as possible. But it doesn't sound like that's your dream.
Not for me at all. First of all, I love what I do. I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I just love doing what I'm doing. And as for money, yeah, it's a yardstick. But after a certain point, you can do whatever you want. Who cares? It's about really just trying new things and breaking new paths and helping as many people as you possibly can before you check out.
Wait. Yeah, give me that again. I'm not sure I got that all.
Sure.
Give me that one more time.
I fundamentally think that your days on this earth, Herb, are basically meant to go ahead and empty your fuel tank and help as many people as humanly possible. That's why we're here. What else is there? To go ahead and enjoy a different food, to go see a different place. I get it, but, it's not really about that.
So when you're feeling tired,
you just keep going. Tired is irrelevant. Has nothing to do with anything.
Peter?
Chris, in the green room, we learned that you were fearless as a kid. Other people would call that courage. Where does your courage come from?
I think it just comes from realizing that fear itself is always present, but it's kind of like if you're breathing or drinking water or anything else, you need it. Fear itself is typically a green flag to move forward. Fear itself is something that everyone is going to deal with at every stage of their life, whatever they're doing. And if you don't feel fear, typically you're not pushing yourself enough to actually go out there and do something different.
So what would you share with a young entrepreneur that's feeling fear about moving forward?
That's a green flag to absolutely do that. 100%. That is a key indicator that we look for. If you don't feel fear, you shouldn't be doing it.
I was going to ask somewhat of a similar question, but you had somewhat of a rough upbringing. We're fighting a little bit of an uphill battle,
sure.
But you came out of the other side of that with just a tremendous amount of self-confidence. And I'm just curious what you would tell a kid that's in a situation that was similar to yours.
I would say the following, really. You are fundamentally enough. I have something I call the deal rules that I don't really share out there. Deal rule 29 is I am enough. And I mean that for everybody out there, period. You are fundamentally out there. You have the skill set to do whatever it is that you wish to do. You don't need any additional tools. You don't need any additional anything. Just start.
How many rules are there altogether?
I think there's 39 or 40 right now.
Where'd you get them from?
Just from experience. Started writing them down.
And you have them memorized.
Number 28 is trust the process. It's trust the process, and I am enough. That's all you need as an entrepreneur.
Chris, when can we expect your first book out?
I already wrote it. I never published it.
These lessons that you learn them self-thought? Did you learn them from talking with friends? Did you learn them from traditional therapy, from unconventional therapy?
I never had these great professors or mentors or anything else that typically people have. Mine is primarily experiential. I've pretty much learned everything that I know in terms of business or on those lines from actually dealing with those mistakes and actually those screw-ups and everything else that you run into as an entrepreneur.
Did you have partners in your previous business?
Always. There's always partners.
Why?
Because you need them. I mean, the fact of the matter is you need people in business to go ahead and move forward.
But wait a minute. You grew up, and if you told us in an upbringing where it was difficult and tough and,
sure.
Wouldn't that separate you from everybody else?
No, I think if anything, you actually have an appreciation for people and what they go through. I mean, I can only imagine other kids that perhaps deal with the same thing and actually probably worse conditions. Or, we're sitting here in a building in the middle of Philadelphia with all these sky rises around us, and I think about the people that are behind their desks in a catch-22 with golden handcuffs doing something they absolutely hate and not free to go after their dreams. That's what really gets me angry.
So you, as opposed to separating from other people because of your difficult circumstances, you actually believe that you need partners, and that so it's really working as part of a team.
You have to.
What's the website? What's your website address?
Sure. Our website is gusher.co, Gusher.co.
And where'd the idea come from for Gusher?
For the actual name or the concept of the company?
The
concept of the company came from literally being out there and seeing the vast majority of intelligent guys, intelligent women, intelligent everything that have a phenomenal idea that they're not able to get financing.
Give me the website one more time.
Sure, Gusher.co.
We've been speaking with Chris Joyce, founder and CEO of Gusher. We'll be back in a moment right after this break. Want help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Charlie Bernier Sr., who's the president, and Charlie Bernier Jr., the vice president of an organization known as ECBM. Charlie, what is ECBM? What are you guys doing?
ECBM is insurance brokers and consultants, so advocates for clients.
And how large or how small is this organization?
We're the 75th largest privately held insurance agency in the country now, about 100 employees, about 5 locations.
The 75th largest in the country. What do you guys do different than everybody else?
I think the main thing we do different is we've stayed individually owned, personally owned, and so our advocacy is for the client, not for stockholders or investors. So that has evolved in our industry to be that way.
So everybody talks about being client-centric, but you are.
We are. We spend a lot of time and effort advocating for clients.
How young were you when you began developing the sensitivity? How young were you when you started making money?
My first money-making job was working at a body shop sanding cars down.
What did you do different than the other kids that did that job?
What did I do different from them? There was 2 of us, actually, a buddy of mine and I got the job. And
What'd you do different than everybody else? Were you working harder? Were you more careful? What was it?
Just driven to, my parents instilled with us, you go out and earn money, and if you want things, and that's how you do it.
What was your next step in your entrepreneurial career?
I wasn't really entrepreneur, I was just working. So body shops to gas stations to supermarkets, working in supermarkets, worked full-time in a supermarket at night, went to school during the day for college.
All right. Drew.
Charlie, you're sitting next to your son here. I'm just curious, what have you learned from your son over the years?
To enjoy life a little more. I was pretty much working all the time, and I always say my wife has the fun genes. All 3 sons got the fun genes. My parents had fun genes. I just don't have them.
You were the hard worker?
I really love what I do, so I was more passionate, but I just worked.
And Charlie Jr., it's obvious that you guys have a lot of respect for your father, but I'm just curious, what you've learned from him.
Yeah, I mean, he has the work ethic. That's number one. But what he's really not telling you is he looks at every issue he sees and thinks about the problems and what kind of conclusion he can come to, rather than just jumping into things, which I tend to do more often.
And what does that mean to you that he does that? He has that self-control.
Number one, that he cares, and number 2, that he understands that we have 85 people that work for us, 85 families that work for us, not including the thousands of clients, and that's what this is about, not just getting what you need to do that day.
Alexa?
Charlie Sr., you were in your current business with your son. In the green room, you mentioned that you're also in business with your brother. It sounds like a real family affair. Why do you like that?
As I said, my brother is very talented, and my dad died.
Well, let me just interrupt you here. I mean, you treat your brother more like a son than a brother, and you can explain that better. And I treat him more like an older brother than an uncle.
And I think the reason is I was 28 when my father passed away. My brother was 10. My sister was 8. And I guess I did. I treat him like a son. And he's brilliant. He's very talented, artistic, and technology-oriented person. And first, he graduated from Drexel with a first degree in graphic design. First year they had that. And
wait. So I understand that your dad passed away, and you took the responsibility of being dad. And you're still dad.
Yes.
And Charlie Jr., is he dad to the whole organization?
In a word, yes.
Tell us what you mean by that.
I mean that he runs this organization like he ran our family. There's no screaming and yelling. It's let's have a conversation about this and come to the conclusion. And he has to stop me from doing that stuff, but he does.
So you really see, and you're a good one because you happen to be one of the sons, and you also happen to be involved in the organization. You really see a parallel between the way he raised you guys and the way he's raising the organization.
100%.
Okay, Peter.
Charlie Sr., you had kind of a gritty childhood, hardworking childhood, yet you encourage everybody else to pursue their passions and kind of creative side. Why? Why does that work?
I really believe that life is about the journey. Enjoy what you're doing as you're going through it. Don't wait. And I feel everybody has something that they're really good at, and you should find out what that is and pursue it.
Mark?
Charlie Jr., there's an insurance company now with an ad campaign that says that you're becoming like your parents. I'm sure you've seen that. How does that make you feel?
You'd really have to ask my wife, because she would say you're becoming like your father with the insurance talk. And I think it's a positive thing, though, and she really believes that, too, I would think. So I would be, happy if I could run this place like my dad does.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
I mean that, she would say, look, you sound like your father in this situation, but that means to me that I'm taking a step back and thinking about things and not just – I like action. There's every quote I enjoy in life that I've read has been, let's just do this type of thing. Let's, action doesn't always bring happiness, but you can't have happiness without action is kind of the way I think. That's a quote I like, but you can't always be that way. You need to take a step back and think about things.
So I understand you told a story in the green room about at one point in time your mom and dad belonged to a country club, and as opposed to you sitting by the pool and having fun, you ended up getting a job there. I don't understand that. What was that all about?
And again, this was not any pushing by my dad, and he just told you it's all about the journey. That's just what I felt like doing, and Dad didn't say, hey, go out there and caddy because, you got to earn a living, and he didn't say, go out there and play golf because we belong to this country club. It was more like, hey, if that's what you want to do, go enjoy it, and you can make some money doing it.
Charlie Jr., do you feel lucky to have come up under your dad as a role model?
Yeah, totally. And, it takes 15, 20 years to realize that because as you're growing up, see other dads that are heavily involved in sports or heavily involved in this or that, and you say, well, maybe it should be different. But when you take a step back and you think about other people, look at our relationship, they tell me I'm lucky, and I know it.
Is it true that the older you get, the smarter your father becomes?
Yes.
Why? What's that all about?
Because you start to, maybe it's because we become more alike, and I'm like, hey, he thinks like me. Maybe it's because I've been taught to think like him.
Family businesses can be tough at times. I'm just curious, what is the secret sauce that keeps your family business running?
I'll go. It is the family. I mean, you said the word. That's what matters to us. That's number one. And we all have respect for each other, and we care about each other in every step of the way.
I would add that we care about other families. Our main focus for our clients is to make sure their family businesses stay in business. A lot of our family businesses have been with us we've been in business, it'll be 50 years in January. Some of our clients have been with us for 50 years.
Could one of you tell us about how you vacation?
Well, his parents bought a little bungalow in Sea Isle City, New Jersey in the 60s. He now has a house down there. My uncle has a house down the street from him, and I just bought a house down the street from both of them. So we're not the Kennedys or anything like that.
But you guys really enjoy hanging out together. Alexa, what else are you thinking?
I was kind of wondering, when the day is done, you have these beach houses. Are you guys hanging out together, or does everyone kind of go the separate ways at 5 p.m. on a Friday?
Again, this is something we got to talk a lot about, but no, it's what time you going to the beach today? We text each other. Okay, let's go now. I'm down here. What are we doing for dinner? Let's decide on the beach. And, the in-laws get used to it.
So what's the benefit to your clients of the tight relationship amongst the core team members?
I think it just extends to the company, as Charlie said. It extends to our clients. It's just the fundamental DNA of us and the company. We care. And
do you have clients?
Like
do you have clients that stick around with you for a long? My bet is that you have teammates that stick around for a long time, and my bet is that that's one of the reasons the clients stick around because they're getting service correctly. Am I correct about that?
Yes, we are very lucky that, in fact, probably at this point our oldest employee is probably 80. She's still running the certificate operation. She's great. We are really lucky to be in this location in Philadelphia because there's major universities, St. Joe's and Temple University have a risk management program, so we're lucky enough to bring in young people every year.
And keep them.
And I would say it's more than 50% of our people are under 30 now.
And the benefit to your clients of this longevity and the development of quality team members, what's the benefit to the client?
I think it's the experience. We probably have 1,000 years worth of experience. So when something comes up or a claim, which is really where you shine and clients really need your help, we've been there and done that. We have a lot of history.
Well, I understand that as opposed to doing things the same all the time, you guys have come up with some new products and services where you're actually servicing your clients according to their current needs as opposed to just what they needed yesterday. What's that all about?
The world's changed rapidly. As we all know, technology's changed everything. It also has changed how our clients do business. So our main focus is to read every contract the client is going to be involved in and see how it affects their companies.
What's the website address to this organization, ECBM?
ECBM.com.
We've been speaking with Charlie Bernier Sr., who's president, Charlie Bernier Jr., who's vice president of ECBM here on Executive Leaders Radio. Peter, can you give us a rundown on who else we've had on the air?
Sure can, Herb. We had Felix Torres-Colon, executive director, New Kensington Community Development Corp. We had Blythe Huestis, president, Beyond Hello. Chris Joyce, founder and CEO of Gusher, and just now Charlie Bernier Sr. and Charlie Bernier Jr. of ECBM.
I'd like to thank my co-host Peter Snelling, Merrill Lynch, Drew Hanlon, Mark Sonnenfeld, Morgan Lewis, and Alexa Scalzi, Top Stack Group, for giving me a hand structuring the questions, hopefully providing our listening audience an educational and entertaining show. I'd like to thank our listening audience for listening, otherwise we wouldn't have a radio show. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, it's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.